Hello, this is Elliot from ETJ English and welcome to this English lesson. Today I thought I'd do something a bit simple, but it's really useful for you, and it's mastering the art of small talk. Let's say you've gone to a party where there's a lot of English speakers, or maybe you're on a train and you're talking to an English speaker. It's important to know the skill of small talk. Now, I've mentioned this in a few live lessons on Facebook, and I've also mentioned this in some normal lessons I've done on YouTube. Small talk is the biggest art in the English language, and it's something you need to learn. So most of it revolves around questions, and I'm going to give you a few useful questions you can ask someone at a party, on the train, on the bus, if you just bump into someone on the street that you've not really spoken to before. So first of all, we're going to start with things you should not say. Within English culture, there's a few rules. What kind of things we like to be asked and what kind of things we don't like to be asked. One of them is, how old are you? Now, in some countries, this might seem normal, but we don't like to be asked how old we are. Especially, I would say, ladies don't like being asked how old they are. It's just a personal thing. And if you've just met someone, maybe don't ask them this straight away. Maybe when you get to know each other a bit better and you've been speaking for a while, then you can ask them, how old are you? But don't do this right in the beginning. And now another thing, I'm going to talk about jobs later. But one thing I don't want you to ask is, how much money do you make? This is a bad question. I mean, it's in some countries, once again, it's good. It's a fine thing to ask someone, how much money do you make? But in our country, in England, and maybe in other countries, I'm not sure, I just know about England, we don't like being asked this question. It's a little bit personal, and a lot of people feel judged when they have to tell you how much money they make. It's a personal question, so just try and stay away from this one as well. Now, there's some obvious questions we can ask. We'll start with the obvious ones. First of all, what do you do? And this is just the same as asking someone, what is your job? Or are you a student? Anything, what they do, what their role is in life. And they might answer saying, I'm a doctor. Anything, I'm an English teacher. Now they may respond with, what about you? And this just means they want you to answer the question you just asked them. So remember this one as well, because you can say this to people who ask you a question. What about you? And then you would just respond with your answer. I'm a student, I'm learning English. Next, you could ask them, if they've mentioned what their job is or that they're a student, ask them, do you enjoy it? Do you enjoy being a doctor? Is it a rewarding job? Is it a hard job? Are you happy in your job? Just little questions that can open up the conversation a little bit more. Just don't get too personal with the questions. Now the second one, if you are a bit stuck for things to ask, British people love talking about the weather, also sports and news. So always try and keep up to date or catch up, like I said in my previous lesson, with the news, because it's always a good talking point and it's a great way for you to practice your English. So look up the news. For example, Donald Trump has recently become the president of the USA. Ask people what they think. What do you think about the new president of the USA? This could open up a big conversation, but make sure you know what your views are as well as the person you're speaking to. So the conversation isn't just one way. We need to be able to have a conversation between two people, not an interview. You don't want to be asking too many questions. Now the third question, you could just ask someone, what do you do in your spare time? Or what are you up to this weekend? And that's just like asking, what do you do in your free time? That's the same as asking, what do you do when you're not working? A lot of people like to have hobbies, so it's a great other way to bring out new ideas for the conversation. So once again, you're practicing your English and opening up new contextual conversations. And when I say, what are you up to this weekend? This is just a way of saying, what are you doing this weekend? Or remember, you might get responses with, what about you? And I explained this at the start. That's just them asking you to answer the question also. Always look for indicators. This is my last tip. Make sure you look for indicators. Let's say you're talking to a man. Did he say he has a wife? When you asked him about where he lives, he might say, I live with my wife in London. Well, you could also carry on with that. You noticed he said he has a wife. So you could respond by saying, oh, do you have kids? And then if he says he has kids, how old are the kids? Just little questions, but don't turn it into an interview. Make sure it's a conversation. So those are 3 really useful questions that you can ask people if you've just met them or if you want to build a conversation to practice your English. This could happen on the phone, on Skype. It could happen on a train, on a bus, like I said, anywhere. And don't be afraid to approach people if you want to practice your English. We do like talking and we like speaking to people, but it's finding the right way to open up a conversation that can be quite scary and quite hard. But sometimes if you really, really want to achieve what you want to achieve in English, then you just have to get out there, get out of your comfort zone, find someone to speak to, and enjoy the experience. And next time it won't be as bad. Remember, if you want some practice with a native speaker, I know a lot of you can't get native speakers in your countries. That's why I'm here. I do Skype lessons where I teach you English and I make you better at learning English. So you can book a Skype lesson with me if you want to, and the link will be in the description below. Also, don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe and everything else that I always ask you to do. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next lesson.